Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name is
Welcome.
Thanks. My name is Conor. I'm a software engineer with Intel. I've been working on DPDK for the last 2 years, over 2 years, and I was user DPDK for a few years on various different projects before that. So I'm very happy to be able to present a tool that I've been working on that's kind of been helping me with some of the work I've been doing. So what I'm going to be talking about today is kind of a lightweight, more easy to use, kind of visually appealing way to view telemetry in your terminal when you're trying to debug what might be going on with your DPDK app, or basically see what your app is doing. So I'm going to talk a bit about the problem I set out to solve with this tool, the solution, the features of the solution. I'm going to attempt a live demo and talk about some requirements and dependencies of the tool as well. And I'd be happy to take some questions at the end as well. But I'll keep those for the end if that's okay. Okay, so what was the initial problem that I set out to solve? So a lot of people will know that most DPDK apps don't have any user interface on them. You start them up, they say they're started, and that's pretty much it. You've no insight into, what your traffic is doing. Are you dropping packets? What are your rates like? Any information like that, it just starts up and you don't see anything else once that happens. Um, Now, as most people will know, DPDK has an inbuilt telemetry socket. It opens a Unix socket in Linux, and within that socket, then you can get data out in a JSON format, depending on what information you request. So just here on the screen, I've shown me looking for a particular telemetry item that I wanted to see. So I started the tool. Then I was looking for the particular command that I needed to find. So there's lots of commands there. There's more being added all the time, which is great to see more metrics being added because statistics are good. But it gets harder and harder to find what you're looking for. Then once I found what I was looking for, I opened up the XStats that I wanted to see, and then you get out that big long JSON string and you try and find what you want to see. So this is very hard to parse in your head. It's very difficult to see values over time. It's very difficult to compare or see patterns. Engineers love graphs, so maybe we could do something about that. So I developed this tool then. This was kind of born out of my own frustrations for some testing I needed to do with L3 Forward. And it kind of evolved into this. I'm going to break down and talk about the specific metrics that I chose to pull out and why I pulled them out. But this is just what the overall tool looks like. I'm going to show the sections now in a second. So this is all running in terminal. There's no external, like you don't have to open an X window or anything like that. It's all built up with characters through two different Python modules that I'll talk about in a second. So at the top of the tool, we have some information about what app you're running, what version of DPDK you're running, the PIDs, how long the test is running, that kind of stuff. This is very useful, just to verify that you're running with the right version of DPDK and you haven't started the wrong test or anything. I also pulled out the EAL and app params just so you can make sure again that the test you're running is correct. The other thing that I found this useful for is I ended up sharing screenshots of this to other people as well, and they'd be asking me, like what kind of setup are you running? What are the commands and things like that? So, it was in the screenshot, so that was handy. Each port that's connected to the app has its own individual section, so you can see different information about it. Then at the end of that, there's a totals column. Now these don't add up because it's two sections of a different screenshot that had multiple ports. But each port shows what its status is, what its capable speed is. It shows its receive and transmit rate in both packets and bytes. Those values update every second and they're per second values, so you can see what's the live real-time value. And we also have how many NIC drops the port has experienced while it was up with the app. So you can see, are you dropping packets? What are your rates? That kind of stuff. So you can see them per individual port, which I found was useful. The apps or the tool itself supports up to 8 ports. This limitation was just come up with because I found that on a standard monitor, this was about as many ports as you could see before it started to get squashed. So I just won't let you start with more than 8 ports just because it looks very poor beyond that, so it's not supported. This is one of my favorite features of this tool. It is a real-time line graph of the total throughput of the traffic that's running through your app. So this line graph is drawn out in characters in your terminal. So like say if you started to get peaks or troughs in your traffic rates, you'd see that straight away. If you got an unexpected change in traffic rate, you'd be able to see this and observe it over time. As I said earlier on, engineers love graphs. So here's a graph. Yeah, so it makes it very clear. The values for this tool are all spread over 60 seconds. So all the averages and everything are all done over 60 seconds. This is the same. So when the tool starts up, it fills it out to 60 seconds and then it starts throwing away old data. So I'm going to give a demo in a few minutes so you'll see this graph actually running. There's some totals that give you kind of averages, min and max over the last 60 seconds. Again, this is looking for peaks and troughs, that kind of stuff, and averages. I added in packet sizes. So a lot of the times I'd be running tests with like different iMixes or like fixed traffic tests at various different sizes. This just is a quick visual way to confirm that you're running the correct tests. So say if I was running 64-byte tests, I shouldn't be seeing packets in any other of those categories. This is kind of a mixed test of various different traffics. There's a histogram there that gives you a visual indicator of what the spread of your traffic profile is, which is useful. Again, if you were showing someone this, they'd know what you were running straight away, which is handy. The tool itself runs all the way down to a minimum terminal width of 80 characters. I did a lot of rejigging to make sure that it could do that. A lot of people like to run a narrow terminal for some reason as well. This is being used by a good few internal Intel developers as well. So we just wanted to, they liked it, so I thought it'd be nice to release it out to the community. Yeah, so the idea with this being supported down to a narrow width is that you could say split your terminal into 2 or 3 and have maybe your app and package in and this in the corner, and then you'd have all the information that you needed for whatever you were working on. If you go below that size, it just gives you a warning and says this isn't a bad idea. And you can see from that screenshot, that the information starts to get squashed and you can't really see what's going on anymore. You can disable that though. But yeah, it just looks squashed. It doesn't look good. Okay, so I'm going to give a demo of the tool running, and everyone knows how live demos go. So I have a video here in case the live demo doesn't work, but I'm going to come out to my terminal and show you this running. So this is just a machine that we have in the lab in Intel. It's set up as 2 ports back to back, so 2 for an app, 2 for a traffic generator. I'm just going to start an instance of L3 forward and have package in pass traffic to it, and then we'll be able to see the tool running as well while that happens. So I'm just going to start L3 forward here. It's pretty much just a bog standard version of L3 forward with 2 ports. So as I was talking about earlier, the app starts up, we've no idea what it's doing. We can just see that it started up with 2 ports. If I come over here to my package in, I can see, that there's traffic moving. You get more information out of package in, but it's not specific to the app. Like you can't see you dropping traffic, can't see, well, I suppose you can't see if you're dropping traffic, but you can't see the rates. You've kind of limited information, but sometimes you're running tests as well and you don't have access to, say you might be running package in, you might have an Ixia or something that you don't have access to the stats for. So we have an app up, we have traffic moving. So I'm going to start up the tool. The tool was reworked to work under user tools. It's designed to go into user tools now. It was originally a standalone tool, but what I did is I reworked a small bit of the original telemetry script so that it could be imported as a module. So that tool is now using the original tool as its handling for the connection of the socket and stuff, so it didn't have to be rewritten, so it's not duplicating code. If you try to start this up, it's not going to connect anything because I have the apps named, but I'm showing that it has similar behavior to what's already in the other tool. So if I connect to my L3 forward instance, this is what the tool looks like when it's running. So, better than screenshots. So I can see that I've connected to an L3 forward. I can see the version of DPDK. I can see the commands I used. I can see all my different traffic rates. This kind of thing is great because, okay, I've set this test up deliberately like this to drop traffic and have missing ports and stuff like that. So we can see that the speed of the port is 10 gigs. We can see we're running about 1.1 million packs per second. We can see that we're not transmitting enough traffic because we're dropping traffic here. So I can see the rates. We can see over here that this port isn't transmitting at all. I misconfigured an IP rule on purpose, so this would happen. But we can see that that traffic is missing. You know, stuff like this. Like, it's very easy to see what's going on here. Then we have the totals over here. We started to fill out our graph, so we can get a very good indication that the traffic here is steady, so there's nothing weird going on in the system. We can see that we're running a mix of traffic, and we can see the different sizes of everything that's there. So I'm just going to go and change the traffic right here just to show you what happens as well. So if I drop down that rate, you can see straight away in the graph that, you know, your traffic has dipped there. So if you weren't expecting that, that'd be very easy to see what happened there. Again, this was a tool that was made for myself originally, so like it's just designed to be helpful for different smoke tests and things like that. I suppose it works with any app. So say if I kill this, I can connect to, say, the package-in that I've running on this system. And you can see that it comes up the very same way. I've tested with a lot of different tools and our apps in DPDK, and it seems to work for, I haven't come across an app yet that it's caused a problem with. There's things like, say, the packet sizes mightn't be available in certain apps. So this would just come up and say that it's not available. So generally, if a stat isn't available, it just won't come up. So I can show you what happens if a port goes down as well. So say I kill that, that'll bring down the package-in ports. So it'll just, like, the stats aren't available, so they'll just go down and traffic rate falls off to 0. So that's a quick demo of what it does. I'm nearly finished now, so just move on just very quickly. So we don't want to be introducing more dependencies into DPDK. We want to keep those, you know, to a minimum of what they already are. So the tool uses Python 3. All the other tools use Python 3 as well. The main dependency for the tool is a module called rich. That's the latest version of it. It's updated to that. The tool just won't start if you try and start it without rich installed, and it gives you, you know, the install on how to do it. So like if you never wanted to use this tool, it'll never affect you if it got added into user tools. But yeah, you need that module to get this to start, or else it won't work. The other dependency is called plotx. It's a module in Python that's able to generate graphs using characters. So that's how I'm generating the live line plot. But the tool will actually run without that dependency. It'll just show up that you can't generate the graph. It'll give you instructions on how to install it. So yeah, so there's patches for this up on Patchwork. That's the series number if anyone wants to try it out. Yeah, so I'm proposing this be added to user tools. I think it's a good, it should be a useful tool for both developers and users who want to see what's going on with their apps. It's very generic. It works with pretty much anything that has DPDK telemetry. And yeah, so that's my presentation. Thanks for listening. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Thanks, Conor. Do we have some questions? A couple of quick questions for Conor. No? Yeah? Yes, one.
Just a short question about the internal architecture. So the presentation layer is nice looking, but if somebody wanted a different presentation layer on top of the the whole program, could it be possible to just import the Python module and call some classes or whatever to just get the data without the drawing and frames and whatnot?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's something I never really considered. I think the code is fairly integrated with Rich, the way it's been set up. Like it's not very hard to swap out the modules that are that is used to generate it out. I think from looking at the different modules that are available, Rich seems to be the best one that's out there at the minute. When I looked anyway. But yeah, that's a good point. Something I could look into. I can't remember how easy it is to swap in and out. There's some things like say the plotx graph, getting that to resize and stuff within that is very specific to Rich. So things like that would be hard to change over to another presentation layer. But yeah, it's something I could look
I see.
into.
I was rather thinking about getting just the raw data without, let's say, without any presentation layer at all, for instance.
Oh yeah, that's not supported.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah,
Right. Thanks.
the way it is. Yeah, sorry.
Thanks very much, Conor. Appreciate you taking
Sure.
the time to do the demo and take us through your work. Thanks.
Thanks.